The key to President Trump's reelection lies in independence, sticking with him. It lies in rallying the Republican Party. It lies in Democratic, Black, and other Democratic individuals saying we're tired of the violence in the streets with these Democratic governors and mayors. Now, when you add all those things up, Trump has a clear lead. This will show this a little bit in this video.
What we know from this history to the 4 media polls that were taken completely after the conventions, meaning their entire sample was after both parties had their conventions. And they're also featured in the Real Clear Politics polling average. That's considered like the gold standard of national polling is that average. But they also released their methodology breakdowns to the public, meaning we can see how they got to the conclusions that they came to. Okay, we have 4 of those polls since the convention. We're going to look at all 4 of these polls one at a time right now. Let's begin with the aforementioned latest Fox News poll. Now, it has Joe Biden with a 5-point lead, but only has independents as 5% of its sample. In other words, this poll is absolute garbage.
Why? Because the independents are anywhere from 31 to 40% of the voting bloc. They are growing larger and larger as time goes on because people are unhappy with both parties.
Okay, there's going to be 5 to 6 times more independents than that. In fact, the latest Gallup poll has 40% of Americans identifying as independents. If that turns out on Election Day, this would be off by 8 times. By the way, Trump polls pretty well with independents. He won them in the last election too. Verdict. The Fox News poll, folks, that's fake news. 5% of the electorate's going to be independents? Come on, man. 5? Let's go next. Now, the latest Harris poll. This is from The Hill. It has Biden with an 8-point lead. Its overall turnout of +5 Democrat, that's reasonable considering historical trends. I could see that. However, it also shows independent turnout dropping by 2 points in 2016. Keep in mind what I just told you about what Gallup is following the voter registration numbers around the country, and independent numbers are soaring. And The Hill has them actually dropping by 2 points compared to 2016. And it has Trump with a...
So that's a problem, and that's a false poll, too, because the independents are soaring. Like I said, you've got to go outside of what the media is telling you.
10-point decline from where he was with independents in 2016. I don't see any way either of those 2 numbers occur. This poll, fake news. This poll's a scam, folks. Now let's go to a poll that when I was on the Cruz campaign, we had a lot of respect for, the Monmouth poll. Monmouth, their latest poll has Biden up by 7 points. But its overall turnout of Democrat +3, folks, that would be a dream scenario for the Trump campaign given history. That would be the lowest Democratic turnout since the 2004 election when George W. Bush won the popular vote. The Trump campaign would love it if Joe Biden got less Democrat turnout than Hillary Clinton did. Furthermore, the same poll has a much higher voter optimism for Republicans than Democrats by a 16-point margin. In this poll, Republicans are more optimistic about the election than Democrats are. Its sample of 39% of the electorate being independents, that would be by far the highest in modern history, but it is in line with the trend line we're seeing from Gallup, all right, where independent numbers are soaring. However, it doesn't provide us a breakdown of those numbers, so we don't know what percentage of those independents they have Biden getting and Trump getting. I would presume they have Biden getting a lion's share of them, but keep in mind, last week Emerson put out a poll that showed Trump getting the highest percentage of Hispanic voters by a Republican since Reagan in 1984, and showed Trump getting the highest percentage of black voters by a Republican since Nixon in 1960. And winning independents overwhelmingly and still losing the election. So which cannot possibly occur, but so I wouldn't take that for granted, okay? That they have their numbers right where that is concerned. Furthermore, it has 67% of the electorate being people that don't have college degrees. That is a group Trump won by 7 points in 2016. So Monmouth projects lower Democratic turnout, higher turnout for two groups Trump does well with, independents and also non-college graduates. Overwhelmingly more optimism for the election for Republicans than Democrats. And still has Trump losing by 7 points, folks. I'm telling you right now, every Trump commercial you see, every Trump speech you see, everything the Trump campaign is doing is to create the turnout on Election Day that's in this Monmouth poll. Reduce Democratic voter blowback, particularly amongst minorities. We're not racist. We're not xenophobes. Try to reduce, mitigate that. Try to turn out a large amount of non-college populist graduates. This is what their entire plan is the electorate that's in the Monmouth poll. And they're going to get that and lose by 7 points. No. That's impossible, folks. Impossible. Joe Biden is not winning if that's the electorate on Election Day. Mark it down, put it in sediment, skip the stone. Not happening. If that is the electorate on Election Day, Joe Biden is not winning. The Monmouth poll, fake news. We're 0 for 3. Let's look at one more. That's the latest Reuters poll. This one won't take long. It has Joe Biden with a 12-point lead, but only 10% of the electorate is independents. 10. This poll is trash. It is just, what's to tell you, if I was working for a candidate, a presidential candidate, and I showed up with a poll, guy, hey man, you're winning by 12 points, and he looked at the internals and found there's only 10% of independents, you're fired. I mean, that's just trash. Trash from the get-go. I cannot believe anyone at Reuters published this with a straight face. I don't even want to pronounce this fake news. It's toilet paper after you've used it, before you flushed. That's how bad that is. Basically, we polled Democrats and found Biden beating Trump by 12 points amongst Democrats. I mean, are you kidding me with this? No, they're not. Do you know how many news stories the polls I just showed you have generated? Now, this doesn't mean that Joe Biden is not going to win on November 3rd. He may. He's just not going to win by any of the means that are in any of these polls. There's no way he's winning with the electorate they have forecast, because either that electorate does not exist. Maybe there's another electorate, another Earth we don't know about that we're not looking at. But on this Earth, an electorate where only 10% of the American voters or 5 are independents does not exist.
There you are. There you are. Pretty powerful. Pretty powerful. Trump is going to win. And there's the reason why. It's as clear as the nose on your face. These guys are sharp in their notes, they're saying. They're sharp. They're experts at this. It's Roger Martin for Billings, Montana. Trump will have a victory in November 3rd. Good day.